Hi there. This will be a good all-around practice, but with a focus on the core. I always make jokes when I do core work in class that someone requested it, but this time people did request it. So we'll get some good core work in and try to do some core work, do something else so we can have a more complete practice, but also build up some good strength and connection with the back. With the core and with the back. So get yourself seated in a position that's comfortable for you. Have as much height as you need to sit tall. Relax your jaw. Relax the face. Let your eyes close. Slide your hands back a little bit away from the knees toward the pelvis and release the shoulders down. Lift up through the spine, through the chest, through the nape of the neck. And you can leave the hands on your lap, or you can bring hands together at the heart, and we'll chant the sound Om one time. And then release the hands, lift the gaze, open the eyes. So we'll start with some simple rolling. If you're on a hardwood floor and you maybe feel a little bit more bony, you could put a blanket down. Otherwise, hopefully the mat will be sufficient amount of support. So start sitting in the middle, maybe a little bit toward the front of your mat. And you can hold your shins or the backs of your knees, whatever works with your body. And really round the back. Pull the pubic bone toward the navel, pull the navel in, and start to slowly roll yourself down and roll yourself up. And see if you can really use the front body. Pull the sternum from the throat toward the navel. Pull the pubic bone toward the navel. Pull the navel toward the spine. Tuck the chin. And rolling from tailbone to the shoulders along the length of the spine, and really contract the front body to lengthen the back body. And then come down onto your back. Draw the right knee in toward your chest. Give it a little squeeze and extend the left leg out straight, long along the floor. And then switch sides. Draw the left knee in. Extend the right leg out long along the floor. And then bend the knees. And extend your arms out in front. Not straight up toward the ceiling, but a little bit out in front, and then lift your knees, feet off the floor, so the knees and the hands come in contact. And you want a pretty solid contact. Press the knees into the hands, press the hands into the knees. If you can, pull the pubic bone toward the navel, lift the tailbone a little bit. Even just think about lifting the tailbone. Bring the sides of the waist toward the floor, navel toward the floor. If you can lift your head off the floor, that amplifies more. Good. Release. Rest for a moment. Now, grab a block. Should have told you that at the beginning. Grab a block. Now, take the block between your right knee and put your right elbow on your block. So you got a little block there, kind of like a little sandwich, peanut butter sandwich. The block is the peanut butter, and your elbow and your knee on either side. The block could be narrow, which will be harder, or it can be middle or long. The more distance you have, the less intense it will be. Now, smoosh your elbow, like we just did with the hand and the knee. Smoosh your elbow toward the block and squeeze the knee back so you get some strong extension. And then if you can, lift your head up Extend the left leg out, left arm out. And then release. Switch sides, left elbow, left knee squeeze. Extend the arm and leg out. If you can lift the head, lift the head. Pull the pubic bone toward the navel. Pull the sternum from the throat toward the navel. Good. Release. Very effective. That pushing with the arms or pushing with the elbows, it involves the upper abdominals, really gets you going. Now we're going to take our block lengthwise and put it on both knees. In the same way that we had our hands on our knees, you could repeat that or put your elbows on your block and both knees on the block. And then we'll lift the head off the ground. Release. Left arm, left leg, switch. Extend the right arm overhead, right leg out. Switch. Squeeze the squeezers, extend the extenders. You gotta kind of catch the block before you switch, which is very effective. Good. Release. Rest for a moment. Let your knees rock a little side to side. Now take your block, lift your head up off the ground, and put the block underneath your head. And so the block has it, put it on sort of medium height. And then bring your hands to your block and tip the block a little bit away from you. So the block is not stable on its flat surface, but it's on the edge. And the other edge of the block is at the base of your skull, where your strong neck muscles meet your skull. And start to lift the chin up and tuck the chin down like you're nodding vigorously, your head up and down. Oh yes, I do love abdominal poses. And then, keeping your head on that same delicate edge, start to turn your head to the left and then turn your head to the right like you're saying, indicating no. Shaking your head back and forth. No, I do not want to skip the abdominal part of my yoga practice. Going back and forth. And then bring your head over to the right so you can feel those big ropey muscles and lift your chin and tuck your chin over there on the right. So you really massage those muscles. And then over on the left and again up and down just a little bit more gently. There isn't an exact place. You feel where the little sensation nuggets are. Go with that. Come back to the center. Relax your jaw, relax your face. And then release. Set the block aside. Supta Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, knees apart. And if you like, you can extend the arms overhead, gives a little bit more length to the abdomen. It lifts the low back a little bit off the floor, but that can feel nice after the abdominal work. Draw the belly just a little bit in, narrow the sides of the waist. Reach from the armpits toward the fingertips. Pull the biceps slightly toward the shoulders so there is hopefully still a sense of length through the neck. The neck has a reach like it's another arm reaching overhead. As always, if it feels better to support the outer knees, then support the outer knees. And then bring the knees together, bring your arms down. Come to your side and come up to sitting. So the abdomen is sort of yogic anatomy, is the seat of fire. And we have even this idea of like digestive fire, or we even have the expression like fire in the belly for people who have a lot of ambition or drive. Years ago I read the autobiography of Jacques Pepin, the French cook. And when he first started working in the culinary field as a young boy, his very first job was learning how to stoke the fires in the kitchen. That's the very first thing. And also having It's not just like having good abs or what the abdomen looks like is not the concern of yoga. It may be one of your concerns. It's not the concern of yoga. But the concern of yoga is a strong digestive system, strength right in the middle of the body, and most of all, a good communication with the whole body, including this area. And in our sort of modern lives, often the abdominal strength is easy to overlook with a lot of sitting and such. So just building some strength. If you're feeling sensation and engagement, you're on the right track. So if you get tired in abdominal work, always you can come out. We're going to do some boat pose. So we'll sit, have your block, actually get your block, put your block between your shins. You could do it wider or more narrow, whatever works with your hip structure. I'm going to have it on the middle length, sort of between my knees and my feet. First thing is walk your hands a little bit back behind you. Push through the hands, lift the chest. So now the back is arched really like a back bend. Lift your toes, spread your toes, flex the feet, and sort of push the heels into the ground, and like a backhoe, pull the heels towards your hamstrings. Right away, that gets something involved. And squeeze the block. Squeezing toward the midline helps get the pelvic floor and some of those lowermost abdominal core muscles. Now, bring your hands to the backs of your knees or to your shins, user's choice. And a little bit round the back. Pull the pubic bone toward the navel, sternum toward the navel, navel toward the spine, sides of the waist back. You can stay here. Squeeze your block, lean back enough that the feet come off the ground. Squeeze the block, pull the heels toward the buttocks. If you want, release the hands, extend the arms out. Turn the biceps away from the chest. Keep pulling the sternum toward the navel, pubic bone toward the navel, navel toward the spine. If you want, you can lift the shins parallel to the floor. If you can, if you want, extend the legs straight, squeeze your block. Purvo. Navasana. Bend the knees, knees toward the chest, navel toward the spine, hands toward the feet. Release the heels, rest for a moment. That little bit of rounding the back really helps find the abdomen. Of course, we're also strengthening the quads, the hip flexors. Really technically, when we talk about the core, it's kind of like everything from the below the chest to the knees. It's the whole center part of the body. So we'll get into a wider range of muscles than just the belly, so to speak. Now, take your block, hold it out in front. We're going to move from one hip to the other. So the first way to do this is with the heels down. Roll onto the left heel, lift the right hip up. Roll back to both hips. See if you can keep the knees together. If the knees keep coming apart and you have another block, put another block there. So squeeze. That squeezing action is so important in this abdominal work. Roll onto the left hip, lift, go back and forth. Try to keep this block steady. Imagine you're balancing a little glass of orange juice right there. And really hike that hip up. Squeeze the legs together. Squeeze another block. Hike the hip up. Good. Release. Shake it out. This time, we're going to only move the upper body. So doing the lower gets into some of those obliques, side abdominal. Now we're going to go same obliques, but a little higher up. So you can keep the feet down. Extend the blocks out in front. You can keep the feet down or lift the feet up. Turn to the side, back to the front. Turn to the side, back and forth. Keep squeezing the legs into each other or into a block. Heels down or heels up, your choice. Back and forth. Good, and then release. Sitting upright, both legs out straight. Upavishta Konasana. giving some length to the body after so much contraction. Let the legs be long. Even walk the hands back a little bit so the whole abdominal area is decompressed. Move the shoulders back and let the breath deepen, neutralize, especially if you were, huffing and puffing at all. Let the breath neutralize. Release. Now take your 2 blocks, put them at the top of your mat. I'll show you first. We're going to put the blocks on. We're going to do plank with no arms, with no weight on the wrist. This is a great way to do plank when you have wrist or shoulder considerations. Your blocks will go kind of make room for your chest. The blocks will go on the shoulders so you have some support. That's what it looks like. Now, lower yourself down so the shoulders are on your blocks, hands back alongside you, toes turned under. Now, turn the palms to face the floor and be on your fingertips, itsy bitsy spider style. Squeeze, roll the biceps away from the chest and move the shoulder blades down the back. If your neck is fussy and gets tired quickly, put your forehead down and do this with the forehead down. If you have strength and enthusiasm for it, keep your head up. If you can afford to build, it builds more strength in the neck and upper back. And if it doesn't bring about a whole set of problems and discomfort in your body, it's good to build that strength. Now first, push the knees into the floor and lift the pelvis off the floor. Pull the pubic bone toward the navel, navel toward the spine, sides of the waist toward the ceiling. Almost like when we rounded our back before. Keep pulling the navel toward the spine, shoulders push into the block. And now if you can, turn the toes under, lift the knees off. And you're trying for not have the butt the highest point, but the back of the waistline, the highest point. Like someone pulled a thread from your navel through the spine toward the ceiling. Push the toes into the floor, shins, knees, femurs away from the floor, pubic bone toward the navel, sternum toward the navel, navel toward the spine, and then release. Rest for a moment. Bring your head down. Lift your palms, turn up. Rock your hips a little, side to side. So if you have shoulder issues, that can be a really nice, safe, it's hard, but a really safe way to work on the strength of plank pose without bothering your wrists, shoulders, etc. Next, if you can, you may remove the blocks and come onto your forearms. We'll do forearm plank. So interlace your fingers, or you can do hands together like prayer position. If you're an interlacer, I prefer interlacing my fingers, but try not to just death grip your little knuckles together till they turn white. This is not a hand strengthening grip exercise. So fingers are together, but relax. Now this place where your wristband would be, push the wrists into the floor. Push the knees into the floor. Pull the pubic bone away from the knees and toward the navel. Pull the navel. Now push the elbows into the floor and pull your elbows toward your knees and your knees toward your elbows. Long neck. Shoulder blades toward the pelvis. And now if you want, add some more spice. Toes under, knees up, legs straight. Now pull the elbows and toes toward each other. That little action. Pulling the elbows back against the friction of the mat and the toes forward really amplifies the equation. Good. Release. Rock your hips a little side to side. And then push yourself up. Come to your hands and knees. So if the weight on the wrist is a problem, of course you can repeat the variation that we did with the blocks under the shoulders or on the forearms. Otherwise, now we're going to do plank with arms straight. I'm sure you calculated that. So push down through the arms, turn your elbows away from each other, shoulder blades down the back. Walk the knees back, lift the ankles, cross the ankles. Bring the pubic bone toward the navel. Push down into the floor. Like you're helping someone push their stalled car through the intersection. Shoulders toward the ears, pubic bone toward the navel. You can stay here, knees down. It's good. Remove bad attitudes about the knees down. Fight the patriarchy. Turn the toes under. If you want, straighten the legs. And again, try not to have the butt be the highest part, but the waistline be the highest part. Push through the arms, pubic bone, kneecaps toward the pubic bone toward the navel, navel toward the spine. Push the floor away to get the navel higher, and then release. Come back, child's pose, knees apart. Bend your forearms, rest your forehead on your forearms. Relax the breath. Relax the jaw. Some of these poses get really straight into the muscles. We're really working on strengthening the muscles. Yoga is ultimately meant to be a consciousness practice that brings us towards stability and ease and some sense of internal communication and strength. Is helpful for that. But sometimes these muscular poses can get a bit agitating or sort of fiery. After all, we're working with the sort of fiery center. So it can be helpful to just turn the pot to simmer. Let the boil come down a little bit before you proceed. And then bring yourself up to your hands and knees. Find your way to downward dog. You could, of course, have hands on blocks, hands on a chair, whatever feels good for your body. Let the belly come slightly in, sides of the waist slightly in and long. So the abdominal area is engaged here. Kneecaps, quadriceps are engaged. Move this bottom part of the sternum toward the navel. Inner knees up, inner groins up and back, shins up and back, femurs up and back, navel in, waist long. And then release. And we'll do a little bit of plank work. And again, if the wrists are the issue, come up and do this work with a chair. Because having the wrists on a chair really takes pressure off the wrists because there's just so much more weight goes lower. So being up high, we're going to do something where we go from downward dog, bring the knee forward. From downward dog, bring the knee across. So doing that with the hands up higher can help you build some confidence, especially if you're starting to feel defeated by it with the hands lower. So you can start with the chair right away, or you can start with the hands down and see how it goes. Or hands on blocks, of course, as an intermediate option. So place your hands, turn the toes under, and come back to downward facing dog. Bring the feet right together. So you're looking back towards your feet. Bring them right together so big toes are touching. Push through the arms. Turn the biceps toward the ceiling. Make the neck long. Raise your right leg up toward the ceiling. This is nice length through the midsection. Press from the armpits toward the hands and pull the right foot higher up and further back. Now bend the right foot. Bring the heel toward the buttocks. And then bring the right knee toward the right chest. And then shift forward toward a plank and see if you can touch your right armpit with your right knee. Push down through the hands. Come back. Extend the right leg up. Bring the right leg down. Left leg up. Push through the arms. Left heel to left butt. Left knee to the chest. Come forward. Try to touch your armpit. Is not a metaphor. Come back. Left leg up. Bring it down. Raise the right leg up. Push through the arms. Bend right heel to right buttock. Right knee to right chest. This time, your right knee is going to come across the left armpit. Come across. See if you can. How high up can you touch your arm? Lift the knee up. Push to the floor. Come back. Extend the right leg. Last time. Raise the left leg up. Left heel to left butt. Left knee to the chest, and then come forward and across and try to touch your right arm with your left knee. Oh. Come back, extend the leg, release, step the feet apart, lower the knees, and again, child's pose. Sit back, cross your forearms, forehead to forearms, relax your breath. Relax the jaw. Be low and quiet. So we learn to stoke the fire. We learn how to build the heat, and then we learn how to maintain the flame. Maintain the energy that the midsection can give us. Good. And then release. And come forward onto your abdomen. What? So of course, we have all these muscles, tissues, nerves, connective elements, the whole front plane of the body. And then we have the side planes and the back planes. They need to work together. So we'll do a little bit of Shalabhasana. Point your toes and press the tops of the feet down into the floor. And press the shins and kneecaps away from the floor. Press the pubic bone toward the floor and toward the navel. So now, hopefully that's a somewhat familiar feeling. Almost like the sides of the waist get a little lighter. The pubic bone goes down, but the sides of the waist come slightly away from the floor. Extend your arms back alongside you. Now keep the feet pushing down. This first time, feet push down. Lift the chest. Lift the arms. Pull your hands towards your feet direction. Long neck. Reach the neck forward. Turn the arms so the palms face the floor. Shoulder blades down the back. Push, push, push. Pubic bone down. Knees away from the floor. Pubic bone toward the floor. Navel away from the floor. Chest forward. Chest forward and up. And then release. Rest. Let your arms turn in. Palms turn up. Let the toes turn in. Turn your head to one side. This time we'll try it, lifting the legs. Turn the toes under. Push the tops of the feet in the floor. Shins off the floor, knees off the floor. Turn your forehead toward the floor. Turn your palms toward the floor. Press the toes down. Knees up. Pubic bone down, navel in. Point the feet so the legs are strong and tight and off the floor without bending the knees. Lift the chest, extend the neck. Shalabhasana, locust pose. Pull the shoulder blades down the back and the spine between the shoulder blades toward the roof of the head, roof of the mouth, crown of the head. Pull the kneecaps toward the shins. Stretch back through the legs. Navel in, pubic bone down, navel in. Strong buttocks. Good, release. Turn your head the other way. Palms in, palms up. Arms turned in, toes turned in. Release. Bring yourself back to your forearms. Oh, we're going to do a little side to side to side in a forearm plank. So you can do this on your knees. I'll show you. Put you both ways. On the knees, the feet come up. Pubic bone comes toward the navel. Elbows come toward the knees. And then you roll onto one side and roll onto the other side. You're going to keep your buttocks off the floor and really twist. It's not that dissimilar from the twisting versions of Navasana boat pose that we did. If you feel up for it, you can also do this with the legs straight. So I'll show you what that looks like and then we'll do it together. In that case, the legs are straight. You come into your forearm plank, feet right together, and roll onto one side, roll onto the other side. You keep the hips up. You can imagine a little viper, or I don't know what, a freshly cooked cupcake. That's better. Right there, you don't want to smoosh it. You don't want it on your yoga tights. So you're trying to keep your hips up, up, up. So here we go. Let's try it. Either knees down, ankles crossed, or legs straight. Push into your forearms, shoulders away from the ears. And then pubic bone toward the navel. Strong abdomen. And then roll to one side, roll the other side. Smooth, controlled movement. Back and forth. Keep the hips off the ground. Oh, you probably feel it. Good. Try not to death grip your little knuckles. One more time. And then come back to the center. And then release. Push up and back. Either dolphin pose, which is just like downward dog with forearms on the ground, or downward dog. Whichever. If you're on your hands or your forearms, lift one leg up, stretch it up, just give some more length to the abdomen. Bring it down, lift the other leg up, stretch it up, and back. Push through the arms, pull through the top leg, and then release, and come down to sitting. And we'll do Ardha Navasana now, which is half boat pose. And you might think that the half would be half as hard as the quote full Navasana. This is not the case. In this pose, you can think of yourself like, in boat pose, we're really making quite a V. In Purna Navasana, it's quite a sharp V. And then in half, Ardha Navasana, it's a low, shallow boat, like a kayak or a canoe, really low, skimming the whole surface of the water. So in this pose, there are choices because what we really want to try to get is this back waist area, sort of where the back of the waistline of your pants is, right behind your navel, or sort of the most narrow part of your waistband, wherever it is, that's the part back here that we want in contact with the floor. So one nice way to come into this pose is just to hold the knees, just watch for a second, and we'll do it together, and roll down and really feel the back of your waistline on the floor, but if you can't, shoulder blades off the floor. So this is a good first place to be, feet down. And then you can extend one leg. And if you're up for it, if your body's up for it, you can extend both legs. But then you don't want the low back to come off the floor. So you want to be able to really pull the sternum like you're unzipping your jacket. Sternum toward the navel, pubic bone toward the navel. And keeping this very shallow boat, a little kayak. And then we come back up. Okay, so now we'll do it together. Think kayak, not ocean liner. Bend the knees. Hold the backs of the knees or the shins, whichever you prefer. Now pull the pubic bone toward the navel. Sternum goes from the throat toward the navel. Start to slowly, slowly roll yourself down. Feel the sacrum come on the floor, and then feel the back of your waistline on the floor, but not your shoulder blades. Pull the hands forward like they're reaching toward the knees. You can't stay here. This is a lot. You can extend one leg straight. Do that for a few breaths. Switch sides. Or both legs. Stay low. Really scoop yourself out. Pubic bone toward the navel. Navel toward the floor. It's hard work. And then release. Head come up. So we did Shalabhasana, lying on the ground, lifting ourselves up, making a little shallow kind of kayak shape in the other direction. And then we did Ardha Navasana just now. Now we'll see if we can roll from side to side. This gets in the obliques. I love this one. It's just kind of silly. So let yourself be a little silly with it. Flail around as needed. I'll show you what it's going to look like. We'll come from Paripurna Navasana onto the side. Keep your feet up. Keep your shoulders up if you can. Come all the way around onto your side. Keep the legs up. Hold on my arm here now. Keep yourself up. Come around onto your belly. Shalabhasana, our old friend. And then come back the way you came, not using your arms. Okay, let's try it. We'll go once one way, once the other way. So come down, roll yourself into your half Navasana. Do whichever version you can. Try to keep the feet off the floor. Now, your one arm's gonna have to come overhead. Roll, try to keep your feet and shoulders and head off the ground. Be in this little side position. Good side bend. And then roll on your abdomen. Shalabhasana, keeping legs, femurs, chest off the ground. And then back from whence we came. Roll, try not to use your arms. And then release. Turn yourself around. We're going to roll the other way. Because you often will find that you have more strength or sort of stabilizing momentum in one direction compared to the other. So come up to sitting. Roll yourself into your half boat pose. Roll yourself down. You won't feel the back of the waistline down. Have a sense of humor about this. Don't get too uptight. Come onto your side. Oh, a little sideways. Can you feel some contraction here? Try to keep your feet off the ground. And then roll onto your tummy. Shalabhasana. And then back the way we came. Use some momentum. Try not to use your arm. And then release. Good. Again, Supta Baddha Konasana. Feet together. Knees apart. Use whatever support you like. Arms can be by your side. Resting on your little tum, which is working hard. Or arms overhead. You can hold your elbows, hold your forearms, or extend the arms straight. I always like the arms overhead version because it gives a little bit more stretch and length to the midsection. We all know when we're building campfire or fire in the fireplace, fire needs oxygen. If you put all the logs right together, touching each other, and you try to start the fire, it fizzles out. So it is also with the abdomen and the sort of metaphoric fire. First of all, it needs our breath. And also it needs some space, some sort of breathing room. So giving a little length and stretch to the spine, the sides of the waist, the abdominal area, that whole sort of cylindrical center of the body, give it some length. Let your jaw relax. Let the breath stabilize. And then bring the arms down. Bring the knees together. And roll to your side, such a way that you can see the screen. And we'll do Anantasana on our sides, legs straight. One thing you can do is just extend your bottom out and rest your head on your arm. And usually I find the head, it drops a little too much. So if you want, you can do this with a blanket between your arm and your head. See, you can see now that the head isn't dropping, the spine stays long. If your shoulder and neck allows it, bend your elbow and bring your hand to the back of your skull in a way that feels good. Now think of all that work we did. Bring your pubic bone a little bit toward the navel toward the spine. Bend the top leg. Bring the toe behind you. See if you can work the knee back and the buttocks, pubic bone forward. Navel back, chest forward, head back. So it's quite an array of balancing forces all the way down the spine. Top knee back. Pubic bone forward, pubic bone sacrum forward, navel back, chest forward, head, throat back. You can stay here or you can bring your hand to rest on your knee. It's a little funny little balancer that makes us get a certain kind of strength in the abdominal section. If you want, you can bring your foot up onto the straight leg. Pubic bone forward, navel back, chest forward, head back. You can stay here, or you can reach around the inside of your leg, grab the ankle, grab the foot, grab the outside of the foot. Knee back, top knee back, pubic bone forward, navel back, chest forward, head back. See if you can partway straighten the leg. Keep working this lifted foot back, chest forward, head back. And then if you want, if you're able, extend the legs straight. It's fine to hold the ankle or the pants if that gives you a little leeway. If you can catch the foot, then see if you can make the sole of the lifted foot parallel to the ceiling, parallel to the floor. And then release. Come back down, rest, and switch sides. So again, depending on what your neck is up for, you can extend the arm and have a little pillow there between your ear and your arm, or come up head to the arm. And then you want to get your armpit as flush as you can with the floor, so that you're not way up high like this with a big window. You want to make it like maybe a worm could get through, but not a mouse. Now bend the top leg, bring the toes to the floor. I'm on my tippy toes like this behind. Now pubic bone forward, navel back, this knee slightly back, chest forward, head, throat back. So it's not just the head back, because then the throat comes forward. So it's the head, throat, back, chest forward. You can bring your hand to your knee. This bottom leg stays straight and strong, kicks down. Even this toe down here of the straight leg kicks slightly forward. That can be helpful. Now, see what happens if you want to try bringing your foot. So this is really like tree pose, quite a bit like tree pose here. Keep this knee going back, pubic bone forward. Navel in, so buttocks is strong. Chest forward, throat back, face back. If you want now, if you want to try, if you can, bring your hand down the inside, catch your ankle, your shin, your foot, the outside edge of your foot. So the arm is on the inside of the leg. Keep the knee back, pubic bone forward, chest forward, throat, face back. See if you can semi-straighten the leg, just till the arm and the leg are still in contact. And then if you're able, if it's appealing, try to straighten the leg. Just see what you can do. It's not an all or nothing proposition. Keep the shoulder down so the neck stays long. Even you can use the hand behind your head to create a little traction. Pull the neck away from the torso. If your foot is up, try to make the sole of the foot parallel to the floor, to the ceiling. Good. And then release. Come down, roll onto your back, bend the knees for a moment. Press into the feet, lift the buttocks, move the tailbone toward the feet and set the waistline down. Sacrum down. The tip of the tailbone might even feel like it's a little bit off the floor. Tuck the chin, lift the head for a second, stretch the nape of the neck, the base of the skull back so the back body feels long. Relax your jaw. And then extend your arms up straight toward the ceiling. You can flex the wrists so the palms of the hands face the ceiling. And then move your shoulder blades away from the ears so the neck is long. Now lift the feet off the floor. Now, like we did one leg at a time in downward dog, see if you can bring your knees to your elbows, not your elbows to your knees. And now see if you can maybe lift the feet a little, reach the armpits toward the knees, lift the head, shoulder blades off the ground. So the knees are trying to come to the armpits, and the armpits are trying to come to the knees, and then release down. So it's crow pose. Bakasana, but on our backs. A great way to work on crow pose, especially if you find crow pose inaccessible, intimidating, annoying, frustrating, demoralizing. Work on it on the ground because it's good, solid work, and it builds the strength you need. So let's try again. Press your hands toward the ceiling. Reach your hands toward the ceiling. Flex your wrists so the palms, it's like they're pressing into the ceiling, and push a little so your shoulder blades start to come off the ground. Now, feet off the ground. This time, bring the big toes, inner heels together so the knees are a little bit apart and the feet are together. First, don't move the arms. Lift the pelvis off the ground and bring the knees as close to you as you can. Now, lift the shoulder blades off the ground, head off the ground. See if you can bring your knees to touch your elbows or your triceps or your armpits. Push the hand. That feeling of pushing someone's car through the intersection. Keep the big toes together, squeeze, and then release. Should we do it one more time? I think so. I think we'll do it one more time. Do the parts that work. Do a little mini versions of the parts that are hard. Just keep working at it. My Sanskrit teacher always says, do something. So rather than doing nothing, do something. Hands toward the ceiling. Flex the wrists. Push a little. Feet off the floor. Big toes, inner heels together, knees apart. Now first, without moving the arms, keep the arms vertical. See how much you can lift the pelvis off the ground. Pull the pubic bone toward the navel. Bring your knees towards your arms. Now, lift the head, shoulder blades off the ground. See if you can bring the armpits to the knees and the knees to the armpits. Push, tuck, push, tuck, lift, release. Rest for a moment. And wiggle your knees a little. Let your head rest. You can even wiggle your head a little side to side. Have a little moment. And then release. Come to your side. And come up. Why not? Let's do crow pose. It's a surprise. We have so many crows around town. Let us relate to our avian brethren. So, you need your block. Take a block. I love this way of getting into crow pose. I learned it years ago from a kind stranger on the internet, and it really changed the way that I was able to finally build some confidence in this pose. I do find this pose difficult with the jacket though, so I am going to take my jacket off. You can make jacket-related decisions on your own. So we'll start up with our feet on the block. Bend your knees and come down into a little ball. This is very much the position we were just in, but it's more passive because we didn't have to lift ourselves, we sort of lowered ourselves. So big toes together, knees apart. Now, tuck your tailbone towards your pubic bone. Navel toward the spine. Get yourself in there. Really Pack your suitcase nice and tight. Bend your elbows. Walk your hands back toward the feet. See if you can get the knees on the upper part of your tricep, not just down by the elbow, but up high by the armpits. And then squeeze your knees in towards your armpits. Squeeze the big toes together. You may stay here or start to tip forward. The motion is forward, not up. As soon as the feet come off, see if you can squeeze them together. That same squeezing action. Look a little forward, squeeze the feet together. Grip with your fingers, squeeze, pull the back of the waistline toward the ceiling. And then release back onto your little block. Have a moment. We'll do it a second time. We won't do it 3 times. I hope it went okay. If you're like suddenly feeling sad about yourself, crow pose is not an indicator of your worthiness. You can also work on the variation on your back, which builds all the strength you need to do this. This pose really is more confidence and technique than strength. Some strength. Really, I encourage you to think of going forward into the pose and not so much up. The forward really helps. Big toes together on your block, knees apart. Excuse me. Now, hands down, bend your elbows. Get low, low and slinky. Low and slinky. Walk your hands back. See if you can get your knees close to your armpits. Squeeze the knees in. Now, you can lift one foot up. Come forward, forward, sternum forward, parallel to the floor. Other foot up. As soon as the feet are up, squeeze them together. Squeeze, big toes touch, knees touch. Grip, grip. Pull the sternum away from the floor. Pull the navel away from the floor. Pull the sides of the waist away from the floor. And then release. Come back. Come down. Come to sitting in Dandasana. Very stable contact with the ground. If you'd like, you could grab your blanket, have a little height under the pelvis. Roll the biceps away from the chest, long through the neck. Relax your jaw, relax your nervous system, especially if that pose is agitating for you, or even if it's just kind of like stimulating, like a roller coaster. Could be fun, but so we're going to stoke the fire, bring the soup to a boil, and then bring it back to a simmer. So one of the real principles behind all these yogic practices is building energy and then sustaining energy. So not letting the pot boil over and losing the energy we built. So learning how to build that energy and then just gently, gently bring the pubic bone toward the navel. Gently, gently bring the lower frontal ribs down, sides of the waist back. So we just keep the lid on the pot, a low, steady simmer. Roll the biceps away from the shoulders. The spine between the shoulder blades comes forward and up. The throat and the face back. Biceps lift and roll apart. Triceps roll in and descend toward the hands. Jaw relaxed. And then release. We'll come into Shavasana. So set yourself up. If possible, if you really have a preference where you like to put your knees up, then do that, that's fine. But in general, I would say, especially after the abdominal work, a classic Shavasana where the legs can be long and the abdominal area can be long would be best case. So bring yourself down. Extend the legs out. Make sure that the buttocks moves toward the heels. And extend the legs out one at a time. Turn the arms so the palms face up. Relax your jaw. Relax the throat. Relax the abdomen. Just the same as we're turning that roiling soup from a full boil down to a low simmer. Let the nervous system, the energy, quiet without fading. Remove tension that is too robust. Let the breath quiet and to be in Shavasana. If you're comfortable in Shavasana and you have time and you want to stay, then of course stay there. Or you can just gently deepen the breath. Feel the heaviness of the physical body. And you can bend the arms and rest the hands on your torso. Bend the knees one at a time. Come to your side. Press yourself up. Sitting with the head be the last part up. Sit up on the height you need to be comfortable, and we'll end with 3 rounds of Om. I hope you enjoyed the practice. I hope you can keep this sense of just the fire burning at a sustainable simmer, strength, awareness, and energy coming from within. Thank you.